And so the bar is higher in that regard.
So we talked about payments. So how many more payment companies do you think that we're going to see? What do you think is driving it? And is there going to be any consolidation or apathy in that space? Or is there more to come?
I mean, there's a lot more there's a lot more of them coming, definitely. Again, barriers to entry aren't as significant as they used to be. So although the CBN
is coming up with
CBN is creating some pretty
yes.
steep banners, some barriers. So I think that slowed things down a little bit, but I do think there will be some rationalization of that, and we will continue to see action in there. Given the amount of money that is in that space, it's inevitable that people will continue to come into that space. I do think there will be some consolidation. I do think there will be some failures, which is, I mean, the way it works in this space. I think there will be some acquisitions over time with the banks starting to, and the bigger financial institutions starting to bring some of these people in-house. So I think there's still going to be a lot of attention in that space. I also think probably the more exciting thing is that we will go beyond payments. Some of these companies will start to specialize. And I mean, there's a lot of things that we still need. We still haven't sorted out credit. And so whoever sorts out the sort of like the biggest credit.
I will ask you, don't you think these guys all do the same thing? So we're seeing a lot of, payments coming up with an alternative. Yeah. We also see a lot of finance-related ventures coming up as well. But they're all doing the same thing, and there's no innovation there. So it's the tech. Well, it's the platform, as far as I'm concerned. But then again, the innovation around the human is not. I haven't seen anything.
Again, I think
different.
Again, I think that's where the hope is that they will start to push beyond the obvious. They're solving. I think a lot of them are solving fairly obvious and fairly basic problems. I do think there's innovation, and some of it is just innovation in form, some of it is innovation in the bouquet of services, and a lot of it is innovation that, I mean, theoretically could have been done by bigger institutions, but hasn't, and so these smaller, more nimble companies are. I think there's also sort of a wave of super apps coming, where you're going to see more of this sort of cross-servicing, where what something that's said as an Okada company is going to end up offering payment services, and so there's a wave of consolidation and cross-service coming. But I think at the end of that, we will see more people pushing to solve new and different problems. I do think there is a cyclical thing where at some point e-commerce was the big thing, and then payments became the big thing, and perhaps it will be cryptocurrency, whatever it is, will have its moment as well.
Because we see all these companies coming up, but a key variable is scale, and that's one of the challenges that we've seen. Great ideas, great benefit, but no one's scaling like you would expect from a platform that has set up to scale.
I think some of that has to do with the macroeconomic condition of Nigeria specifically.
But I mean, if you just take Lagos, for example, where it's a country, 20 million people, fairly decent third, fourth industrial revolution infrastructure. Why haven't we scaled anything in this part?
Again, logistics are difficult and challenging. But I do think some of these companies are achieving some scale. I don't have the numbers offhand in terms of how many people they're serving, but in terms of transactions processed, your Paystacks, your Flutterwaves, are starting to do some numbers. I think something that's important to note from, and this was Ajia Soho of Minds, and I think Titi, a couple of people at our FinTech Town Hall spoke about the fact that all of this payments infrastructure, all of this work that's happening in FinTech really is preparing to serve the other sectors. Essentially, these FinTech companies are an infrastructure layer, and they're an essential infrastructure layer for other companies to build on. And so the more companies we have doing interesting and engaging work that reaches millions of people in agriculture, in education, in transport, whatever it is, then the more of a chance that these FinTech companies will actually attain some scale that matters.
Okay, my final question has to be, you just did something with women in tech.
Yes.
And clearly, I mean, we know there's not enough women in tech. And if you're going to really create solutions, you need diversity in the people that are driving it. So how do you think we're going to solve that problem? Because we do have a lot of creative, innovative, even users in the women's space. How do we get more women invested from an investment perspective and also from a functional and expertise?
So I got to say, I mean, it's a great question. And so we did Tech Women Lagos, and our plan is to do other cities, both in Nigeria and across the continent, and do Tech Women projects in each of them. And fundamentally, what we wanted to do was show young women thinking about their careers that there's space for them in tech. I do have to say, we didn't have difficulty finding 50 women in technology.
Well, that's easy, but we have lots of
and
people in Nigeria.
I'll say, and we went from people who had 2 years in technology doing UX design to people who had 25 years or 30 years of experience in technology, have been executives, country managers, founders, etc. Now we want more founders. I think of our 50 women, only 8 of them were founders. But overall, my sense is you have to demystify it. You have to make it clear that there's opportunities for people, for women to come in here by creating this fantastic showcase. If you go to techwomenlagos.com, you'll find the profiles of these 50 women. We want people to invite them to conferences and have female speakers, no more males. Yeah. We want people to invest in their businesses. We want people to support them in their careers. But what we also did was we created workshops for these 50 women to speak to other women who were thinking about coming into the space. We had excursions where we had students come and see the exhibition, and we had some of the women in the exhibition, speak to them. We're creating a documentary around that project, a Tech Women documentary, which we're going to show to 650 secondary schools. And so those kind of efforts essentially make it clear that there's space for women in this industry, and that these are other women who've done it. Here's a path. Here are people you can contact. Here are people who are doing it and who you can be like. Efforts like ours and the many sort of like Code Lagos and Tech Her and organizations like that are doing trainings for women are absolutely critical. It is important to note that to come and be a woman in technology, you don't have to be a coder. I mean, code is important, yes. But we need UX designers, we need executives, we need people to do partnerships, we need people who understand tech and it's to do research, who understand tech and its real human impacts, to come and participate in the industry. And I think the future is bright in that regard. I look forward to.
Tomiwa, thank you very much for coming on to Tech Turks and sharing your wealth of knowledge in this space. We'll continue the conversation offline. Thank you.